Okay, let's dive into the powerful and, yeah, sometimes uncomfortable philosophy of Robert Greene's The 33 Strategies of War. Because this book, it isn't really about ancient battles. It's a playbook for the conflicts we all face every single day.
Right from the start, Green hits us with this really provocative idea. Life itself is a constant struggle. I mean, think about it. In politics, in business, even in our personal relationships, we're always up against rivals, all playing for some kind of edge. The culture might try to paint a prettier picture, but we all know this is true. We can feel it in our own battle scars.
But here's the key takeaway. Green says we have a choice in how we fight. We can be like Ares, the god of just raw, brutal force, who's wasteful and honestly pretty easy to trick. Or we can be like Athena, the goddess of strategy, who wins with smarts, with subtlety, with a calm, rational mind. This entire book is about choosing Athena's path, about blending that wisdom with battle.
So before you can even think about strategizing against other people, Green argues that you have to first declare war on yourself, your mind. That's the starting point for all strategy. But it's also easily overwhelmed by emotion and kind of stuck in the past.
This whole process, it's a campaign in itself. It's not just about, being self-aware. It's about really confronting the parts of yourself, your biases, your emotional triggers, your laziness, all the things that sabotage your own success. This is not some gentle self-help stuff. It's a ruthless internal battle to forge a mind that's actually fit for command.
The very first battle you've got to win is for what Green calls presence of mind. This is just an absolutely critical skill, staying calm, rational, and balanced right in the heat of a conflict. While everyone else is losing their head to fear or frustration, the strategist actively resists that emotional pull of the moment and stays decisive.
And really, at its core, this internal battle is all about confronting your own fear. It's that moment in a crisis, like Stephen Crane wrote in The Red Badge of Courage, where you suddenly realize you're a total unknown, even to yourself. All your old rules feel useless, and you have to experiment just to figure out who you really are under pressure.
So the second key to mastering your mind is creating urgency. Green calls this the death ground strategy. The whole idea is that you are often your own worst enemy, wasting time dreaming instead of doing. So you have to put yourself in a position where your back is literally against the wall, with no easy way out. You have to fight like hell to survive.
The classic example is Hernán Cortés burning his own ships in Mexico. He left his men with only two options: conquer or die. Now for us, we're not talking about actual ships. It's about quitting that stable job to go all in on your startup, or publicly announcing a huge deadline for a project. It's about intentionally taking away your safety net to force yourself to act with total, complete focus.
Okay, so once your own mind is in order, the next challenge pops up. How do you lead your modern army? Your team, your company, your allies. Because now you're not just managing your own emotions, you're trying to unite a whole group of people, and they all have their own agendas.
Every single leader faces this tension. On one side, you've got the disaster of groupthink. That's where trying to get consensus and dealing with hidden agendas leads to totally irrational decisions. And on the other side, you have unity of command, where one single, guiding vision gives everybody clarity and purpose. History shows us that great victories almost always come from unity.
Napoleon Bonaparte just put it perfectly. Divided leadership, it's a recipe for disaster. A single, unifying vision, led by one person at the top, that's what creates cohesion, boosts morale, and ultimately leads to victory. All right, so your mind is sharp, your team is aligned. Now you enter the fight. But strategy isn't about just charging headfirst into every single battle. No, it's a sophisticated dance of offense, defense, and some serious psychological warfare.
Let's look at two powerful defensive moves. With a counterattack, you're basically playing the patient predator. You bait your opponent, who's probably impatient, into making a dumb move that you can then exploit. But with deterrence, you don't even let them make a move. You project such an aura of strength and unpredictability that they just decide attacking you isn't worth the risk.
And here's the key. An overt threat, that can be calculated. But uncertainty, that's terrifying. It's pure psychological warfare.
When your opponent can't predict how you'll respond, when they start to suspect you might just be a little crazy and that the cost of fighting you is unknowable, their own mind becomes your greatest weapon. They will almost always back down rather than risk finding out.
And ultimately, this all comes back to what the great strategist Sun Tzu taught. Your real power doesn't come from what the enemy might or might not do. It comes from your own readiness, your own preparation, your own strategic position. It's about controlling the one thing you can control, yourself.
So all of this, mastering your mind, leading your team, fighting smart, it all builds toward the ultimate skill of the strategist. This is about raising your perspective from just winning today's battle to winning the entire war.
This is the realm of grand strategy. It's the art of looking past the immediate fight and calculating several moves ahead. It means you have to stay laser-focused on your ultimate long-term goal, while you let everyone else get tangled up in the emotional drama of the daily battle.
And this leads to what is maybe the most counterintuitive insight in the entire book. A grand strategist knows that sometimes you have to deliberately lose a battle just to win the war. You might have to take a short-term hit, let your opponent think they've won, all as part of a much bigger plan. It's about sacrificing a pawn to checkmate the king and get the last laugh.
You know, Napoleon captured this perfectly. He said, anyone can make a simple plan, but very, very few people are capable of actually waging war, because that takes a kind of genius for adapting to things as they change constantly. It's all about seeing that bigger picture and adjusting on the fly.
So the question to ask yourself is this: in the unavoidable warfare of your own life, are you just reacting to the moment, getting caught up in all the daily skirmishes? Or are you playing the long game, calmly executing a grand strategy, and positioning yourself to have the last laugh?